Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday. It is Tuesday, the 17th day of October, 2023. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. I hope your family's safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food and shelter, clothing, as well as health, are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, who, along with the first responders, are out here every day trying to save human lives, and those also that pick up garbage to keep our places clean and disease-free, and those that make deliveries of important things we take for granted, like food and water. Double blessings also upon those that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and the children who are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, those who are victims of prostitution and child prostitution, pornography and child pornography, human trafficking and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and those perverts who practice these things. Finally, blessings, double blessings on the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children homeless in the United States, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Couple things, and I guess there is a disconnect. And I guess it's natural. In such a large fan base as Knicks Nation, there's going to be disconnects. There's going to be things where people are not seeing clearly, or people want things above what they're seeing. For example, when Mitchell Robinson was in his contract year and it was time for him to get an extension, there were people talking about trading him, people talking about signing him to a mid-level, a lot of foolish talk, because people were looking at stats and he doesn't score a lot and he has no three-point shot and he's not a stretch five, not understanding at all that Tom Thibodeau's defense is the most important thing for him. It's more important than any other aspect of the game of basketball. Defense. Okay? It is what it is. And we can see championship teams generally play great defense, especially getting stops when you need them in the playoffs. In Tom Thibodeau's scheme, a center or five that protects the rim and helps call out defensive schemes is more important than a three-point shooting five, if you had to choose. There's very rare instances where you get a Nikola Jokic that can basically do both. He can play defense, although he's slow-footed, and obviously he can hit three-point shots. That's a rarity, and everybody's looking for that next Nicole in Victor Wembanyama or in Chet Holmgren. You're hoping for another Joker, a guy that can shoot threes and protect the rim at the same time. That's what everybody's looking for. It's like when Wilt Chamberlain came into basketball. When you see a guy getting 50 points and almost 30 rebounds a game in one season, when you see a guy score 100 points in a game, and during the course of that game was bringing the ball up the court like a guard at 7-1, everybody was looking for the next Wilt Chamberlain, which is why you got guys like Walt Bellamy, Nate Thurman. You started getting all of these guys where all of the hope was they would become something like Wilt Chamberlain. Then, of course, you had the Bill Russell fan base, which Bill Russell was more of a team-based player, didn't put up a lot of stats, but did get a lot of hardware, especially championships, which again, you get a Willis Reed, you get other guys that were trying to get that next Bill Russell. Talent is talent, and not everybody can do the same thing, though they might be the same size. Mitchell Robinson is a rim-protecting, shot-blocking defensive demon, and that's what Tom Thibodeau needs to run his schemes. Okay? And there's people that will look at Tibbs and say, well, he's never won a championship. Well, guess what? Until somebody wins one, they always don't win one. So in other words, before Larry Brown won one with Detroit, he hadn't won one. Before Red Auerbach started winning with Bill Russell, he hadn't won one. Before Pat Riley started winning with Magic Johnson, he hadn't won one. Everybody has a first time. Okay? And it takes a lot to get to that first time. The first one is the hardest one to get. Sometimes that's all they get is that first one. But it's rare, and you'll take it. Okay? So for Tibbs, on his way to trying to build a champion, as he built the defensive schemes for the Boston Celtics, the 2008 champions, He's trying to do it for the Knicks, and it starts with Mitchell Robinson. It's no coincidence that Ian Begley wrote recently that Mitchell Robinson, he quoted somebody saying Mitchell Robinson is probably the most important Knick. Along that vein is Quentin Grimes. Okay, along that vein is Quentin Grimes. It really astounds me that people look at Quentin Grimes' offensive statistics and try to judge him based on that, or say he's inconsistent, or say he should be replaced by Fournier who can shoot better. None of which are true. That's 0% truth, those things. Quentin Grimes is a better shooter than Evan Fournier. Quentin Grimes is a better defender than anybody in the Knicks except Mitchell Robinson and Duce McBride. We'll talk about him in a second. The problem with Quentin Grimes not scoring is he's not getting touches. What happens when the Knicks offense is Brunson brings the ball up. Brunson is a one-on-one player. He's at his strength when he's playing one-on-one. When he's a isolation type ball player. That's his game. It's always been his game from high school. He's passing more, not that this is his team, but he's at his best when he's in isolation. Julius Randle is an isolation player. So is RJ Barrett, So is RJ Barrett. They're all isolation type players. RJ is he can play more of a team ball than the other two, I feel like, if he's commanded to. That's the problem with Quentin Grimes. He's playing with 3 isolation players. Okay, so they run plays for Julius Randle to get him isolated. They run plays for RJ Barrett to get him isolated. They do not run plays for Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is the safety valve. He stands at the 3-point line, and if they can't get anything, they throw the ball at him and hope he hits a 3. I am hoping, and I believe it will be true, that the Knicks begin to incorporate Grimes more in the offense in terms of getting plays called for him, running him off screens the way J.J. Redick used to be run off screens, and get him set up to get open looks and be a playmaker because he has the ability to do all that. I believe the Knicks will do it, but I think what has happened in this preseason is it's very easy to fall in old habits. The Knicks are very dependent on Quentin Grimes defensively, very dependent. As looked at in the last preseason game against the Timberwolves. They had him 85% of the time, I'd say, guarding Anthony Edwards. Nobody else, him. Because if anybody else tried to guard Anthony Edwards, they would get done up. Except Q-Dog. So they're dependent on him defensively. And because of that, that is why the Knicks numbers look better when Emmanuel Quickley is in the lineup with Quentin Grimes. That is why I believe Tom Thibodeau is trying more lineups that include those two along with Donte. Because Donte plays good defense. IQ plays good defense. Grimes is the best defender of all 3. And they can all shoot the ball. Okay, so he's playing more lineups with them in it to try to get the best, because with Grimes and Q-Dog together, you have 2 defenders that can score. Okay? And then there's Duce McBride. A lot of people writing off Duce McBride, very short-sighted. And that's the problem in Knicks Nation. A lot of short-sighted people. I mentioned Mitchell Robinson. People like saying, well, he's only going to get $10 million a year, or they should trade him. And people are really short-sighted. Don't understand the long-term effect of having a defensive anchor with a defensive coach. But anyway, still being short-sighted with Duce. Let's talk a little bit about Duce. At West Virginia, in his freshman year, Duce was a defensive ace. He's always been a tough defender under Huggins. Tough defender. But then as he got more confident, he became more aggressive, and he became a 20-point scorer in his last year at West Virginia. Then in the pros, he's coming into the NBA, defensive ace. That's his calling card. Defensive ace. That's what Duce is. Okay? Tremendous defensive player. Always, like Grimes, in the right position defensively. Great lateral movement, great hands, great anticipation. Offensively, though, he was tentative. He was always, and still does, defers. He always defers. That's the thing with rookies and young players, with players like a Randall or Brunson or RJ. They're going to defer. That's what Duce was doing. But what you saw in the last game was the first time I saw G League Duce. You see, G League Duce doesn't defer. G League Duce is aggressive and offensively aggressive and tries to take over a game. G League Duce was averaging more than 27, 28 points a game. And people's like, well, he'll do it in the G League, but not in the league. Yes, he could do it in the league. He just wasn't aggressive because he was deferring, just like Grimes is now. If Duce decided to be aggressive, as you saw in the Minnesota game, reason he was aggressive because there was nobody on the floor for him to defer to. He took over. And what happened? 6 for 6, 4 of 4, 6 for 6 from the field, 4 of 4 from the three-point line, 16 points in 11 minutes. And he controlled the game. So it's not a function of his talent. It's not a function of anything except his mindset in terms of being aggressive, number one. And number two, getting, along with Grimes, opportunity, which is tough to get in a stacked team. So it's going to be interesting tonight as they play Boston, how much minutes Duce gets. And when he's out there, if I am hoping that Thibodeau pushes him to become aggressive when he's on the floor. And this is a general principle in the NBA when it comes to people coming off the bench. And not just the NBA though. This goes all the way back to like high school. If you're a starter and you know you're going to play the majority of minutes, like in a 48-minute game, you're going to play at least 30 minutes, 32 minutes, you can afford to ease into the game. Ease into, let the game come to you, so to speak. But if you're coming off the bench, you must come off the bench aggressive. Okay? The great scorers that come off the benches in the history of the NBA have always been offensively aggressive when they come off the bench. They don't let the game come to them. They're coming off the bench and they're trying, and that goes all the way back to high school, into college. That's just like a theme. People coming off the bench, especially wings and guards, they're usually trying to be aggressive. The best ones are the aggressive ones. Duce has been deferring his whole career, 3 years here, coming off the bench. Saturday night, he did not. He took over. He was aggressive. And I think if we get that Duce, there's going to be some decisions Tom Thibodeau's got to make. Because if you get an aggressive Duce coming off the bench, looking for his shot, you're going to see a different Duce. Now, Grimes can't afford to be aggressive like that because he's playing with Randall, Brunson, and RJ. They have to call plays for him. He's not coming off the bench. He's going to get 30 minutes a game come regular season because they need his defense. In fact, we know last year in the playoffs, he played a 48-minute game or 40-something minute game against Miami. And they're going to do that a lot this year, too. They need his defense. If you can get IQ more involved, and I think they will, if you can get Donte more involved, and I think Tibbs is already, like I said, he's already tinkering with that type of lineup with Donte, IQ, and Q-Dog. You're going to see more, aggressive play, offensively aggressive, and of course defensively solid. But I'm just trying to see what's going to happen with Duce because it's a long season. If he learns to come out aggressively, and he would need to come out aggressively both off the bench, that's the way it should start doing. And if he gets a chance to start, every year he starts a few games. Every year he starts a few games. For Brunson, for IQ, he ends up starting a few games every year. If he gets his few games started, he has to be aggressive from the beginning. So that's the key here. Will he be aggressive? He's naturally deferring to people. He does it all the time. But I want to see if he's aggressive. So the keys for the Knicks this season is Mitchell Robinson, Quentin Grimes, and people like Duce and IQ as ancillary. Of course, it goes without saying they need Brunson, they need Randall to do what they do. But in order to win a championship, you need other guys as well. And in a Thibodeau coach team, you want defense. You have to have it. Okay, and the Knicks have the talent to become a defensive monster, in the NBA. They could do it. They've been in the top 10 in defense before, and under Tibbs. They've been there. and they know how to play defense. They've been aggressive defensively, and as far as rebounding, they were third in the NBA in rebounding last year. So those two things are what Tibbs produced teams do. I'm expecting, as I said, Julius Randle to really shut some people up come playoff time this year. I mean, hopefully he's not hurt, but if he's healthy, I'm expecting him to shut some people up because I'm expecting a different Julius in the playoffs this year. He's more mature. He's got a lot of help. And hopefully he's healthy. I think we might have seen something last year if he didn't hurt his ankle, but we'll never know. But this year, if he's healthy, I'm expecting 25-10 Julius for the playoffs, and I think we're going to get it. And I think we're going to continue to get Brunson at a high level. So those are givens. Those are constants. E equals MC squared. The C squared is Julius and Brunson. Those are constants. Okay, so let's see what happens tonight. I want to see how Quentin Grimes is used. Do they fall back into the habit of just relying on him defensively and using him as a safety valve? Or do they call some plays for him running off picks? I want to see if that happens. I want to see how many minutes does Duce McBride get today and if he's aggressive coming off the bench. Those are the things I want to see tonight because it's a preseason game. It's not a regular game. They got 2 more preseason games, one tonight, one tomorrow night. So let's see what happens. In the meantime, be safe out there and enjoy your Tuesday. Shalom.